Emily Carter was the kind of girl people noticed without her even trying. At 22, she carried herself with a quiet confidence. Her soft brown hair always fell loosely over her shoulders. Her hazel eyes sparkled whenever she smiled. And though she didn't wear expensive clothes, she had a grace that drew people in. Emily worked part-time at a little cafe near Boston University, where she was studying journalism. Every morning she arrived early, wiping down tables, brewing coffee, and greeting customers with her warm voice. Her dream was to one day write stories that touched lives, stories that mattered. It was on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon that Jason Miller walked in. Jason was the opposite of ordinary. He was tall, broad, with dark hair styled perfectly, and the kind of blue eyes that seemed to look right through you. He wore a leather jacket that screamed confidence, and when he stepped up to the counter, his smirk was enough to make Emily lose her train of thought. "Can I get a caramel latte?" he asked. Then, with a pause and a sly grin, he added, "Actually, make that a caramel latte, and maybe your number too." Emily froze, then let out a nervous laugh. Nobody had ever been that bold with her before. She scribbled her number on the corner of his receipt, sliding it across the counter with shaky hands. Jason winked. "Thanks. I'll be calling you, pretty girl." That night, Emily's phone buzzed with a text. "Jason, so, coffee tomorrow. This time, my treat." She smiled to herself, clutching her phone to her chest. She didn't know it yet, but that single text was about to change her life forever. Emily hadn't felt this alive in years. After that first meeting, Jason became a constant presence in her life. His texts came early in the morning. "Good morning, beautiful. Don't forget your coffee today." And late at night, "Sweet dreams, my girl. I'll be dreaming of you." Emily would giggle at her phone, clutching her pillow, feeling like she was living in the kind of romance novels she secretly read before bed. Their first official date was at a quiet little Italian restaurant downtown. Emily wore a soft blue dress that brought out the color in her eyes. Jason, on the other hand, looked like he had stepped out of a movie. Crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled just enough to show off his strong arms, and that same mischievous smirk, over plates of pasta and glasses of red wine. Jason listened to Emily, like every word she spoke was the most important thing in the world. "So, you want to be a journalist?" he asked, twirling his fork. Emily nodded eagerly. "Yes, I want to write stories that matter. Stories that could change someone's life." Jason leaned closer, his voice low and smooth. "Well, whoever gets to read your words is lucky. Just like I'm lucky to sit here with you." Emily blushed so hard she thought her face would catch fire. No one had ever made her feel this special. From that night on, their relationship blossomed quickly. Jason showered her with roses at her apartment door, sunflowers at the cafe where she worked. He sent her playlists with songs that reminded him of her, held her hand tightly in public, and whispered promises of forever in her ear. Her best friend Lena raised an eyebrow when Emily gushed about him. Be careful, okay? Guys like Jason, the two perfect ones, they usually come with secrets." Emily laughed it off. "Lena, you worry too much. He's not like that. He's different." But late at night, when Emily replayed his words, his promises of love, of a future together, she couldn't help but wonder if Lena was right. Still, she pushed the thought aside. Love like this didn't happen every day, and Emily wasn't going to ruin it with doubts. Jason had become her world, and she had no idea. He was already planning to break it apart. For weeks, Emily floated on clouds. Her days felt brighter, her nights warmer. Jason was everywhere, his scent on the flowers he brought, his voice in her ear, his laughter echoing in her heart. But slowly, almost too subtly to notice, things began to change. It started with the phone calls. Jason would step outside to answer them, lowering his voice, walking far enough away so Emily couldn't hear. When she asked, he brushed it off. "Work stuff, babe. Don't worry about it." Then came the late nights. He'd cancel plans at the last minute with vague excuses. "Something came up. I'll explain later." But later never came. Emily told herself not to overthink. Love meant trust, right? Still, the gnawing in her chest wouldn't go away. One evening, Emily invited Jason over for dinner at her small apartment. She cooked his favorite grilled chicken with roasted vegetables, the way he liked it. She wanted everything perfect, even lit candles on the table. But when Jason finally arrived an hour late, his shirt smelled faintly of perfume, not hers. Emily's heart sank, but she forced a smile. "You're late." Jason leaned in, kissed her cheek quickly, and muttered, "Traffic, babe. You know how it is." During dinner, his phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, smirked, then placed it face down on the table. Emily felt her stomach twist. Trying to lighten the mood, she asked, "So, tell me about your day. What kept you so busy?" Jason's jaw tightened. "Why the interrogation, Em? Don't you trust me?" The sharpness in his tone stung. She blinked back tears. I didn't mean it like that. I miss you when you're not around." Jason sighed, running a hand through his hair. Then, with a practiced smile, he reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap. You're too good to me. You know that." Emily smiled weakly, choosing to believe him. Love, she reminded herself, wasn't perfect. Everyone had bad days. But Lena noticed the change in her friend. You're quieter lately. You don't laugh like you used to. Is everything okay with Jason?" Emily hesitated, then forced a laugh. "Of course, he's just stressed. Work's been crazy for him." Deep inside, though, a whisper grew louder. Something isn't right. That night, after Jason left, Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling. She wanted to believe the man she loved was everything he claimed to be. But the cracks in the perfect picture were spreading. And soon, she would discover the truth she was never prepared for. The following week, Emily couldn't shake the unease in her chest. Jason still smiled, still kissed her, still called her my girl. But something about him felt rehearsed. One Friday evening, Jason picked Emily up for a dinner date. He looked sharp, confident, and his cologne was stronger than usual. But halfway through the meal, his phone buzzed again. He glanced at the screen, and for a fraction of a second, Emily caught a glimpse of the name, Sophie. Emily's heart skipped. Before she could process, Jason snatched the phone and shoved it back into his pocket. He forced a grin. "Sorry, work emergency." Emily froze. "Sophie, with a heart." On the drive home, Jason hummed along to the radio, like nothing was wrong. Emily stared out the window, her mind racing. Who was Sophie? A coworker? A friend? Or someone more? That night, she couldn't sleep. Jason's words echoed in her mind. But so did Lena's warning. Guys like Jason usually come with secrets. The next morning, Emily made a decision. She needed answers. When Jason left his jacket on the couch, she noticed his phone peeking out of the pocket. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She knew it was wrong, but the knot in her stomach demanded the truth. The screen lit up. Notifications from Sophie. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again?" Emily's breath caught in her throat. Her legs felt weak. She scrolled further, and each message was another dagger. Jason wasn't just flirting, he was living another life with this woman. At that moment, Jason walked back into the room. Emily quickly shoved the phone back, her heart racing. Jason smiled, unaware. "Ready for brunch?" Emily forced a nod, her lips pressed tight to hide the storm inside her. She wanted to scream, to throw his betrayal in his face. But instead, she chose silence. Because a part of her, the part that was stronger than her broken heart, already knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Emily would get her revenge. Emily stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror that night. Her eyes were red from crying, but behind the tears, there was something new, something colder. "He betrayed me," she whispered to herself. The words stung, but saying them out loud made them real. Jason's lies, his promises, his forever, all of it was a performance. And Emily, foolish and trusting, had played her part. For hours, she sat curled up in bed, her phone glowing with the evidence of his betrayal. Sophie's messages were still fresh in her mind. Every heart emoji, every I miss you, every last night was amazing, replayed like a knife, twisting deeper. She thought about calling him out, screaming, ending everything in a storm of tears. But then she stopped. Why should she give him the satisfaction of seeing her broken? Why let him walk away thinking he had one? No. Emily decided something that night. Jason wasn't going to just leave her with a shattered heart. He was going to pay. The next morning, she plastered on her brightest smile. When Jason came over, she hugged him tightly, even kissed his cheek. "Morning, babe. I've been thinking, maybe we should take a little trip together. Just the two of us." Jason grinned, completely fooled. "That sounds amazing. You always know how to spoil me." Inside, Emily's stomach churned. She could barely stand the sight of him. But her mask was perfect. She told Lena everything that evening. Sitting in their favorite cafe corner, Emily whispered the truth. Lena's eyes widened with anger. "That lying piece of trash. You should dump him right now." Emily shook her head. Her voice was calm, too calm. "No, I'm not just going to dump him. I want him to feel what I felt. I want him to regret ever thinking he could play me." Lena leaned back, shocked at the steel in her friend's voice. You're scaring me." "Good," Emily whispered, "because Jason has no idea what's coming." That night, Emily opened her laptop. Slowly, carefully, she began gathering everything: screenshots of texts, photos from his social media, little details he had shared without realizing. The plan was forming, not just to expose him, but to ruin him and Jason. He still thought she was the perfect, loving girlfriend. The silence before the storm had begun. The next week, Emily transformed herself into the perfect girlfriend. She laughed at Jason's jokes, cooked him dinners, and even surprised him with little gifts. To Jason, it must have felt like he had her completely wrapped around his finger. What he didn't know was that every smile she gave him, every soft kiss, every whispered "I love you" was another brick in the wall of her revenge. At the cafe, Emily became an actress. When Jason dropped by, she played the sweet, devoted girlfriend in front of her coworkers. He wrapped his arm around her waist, and she leaned in, pretending her heart still belonged to him. But behind that mask, Emily was working. Late at night, she stayed awake with her laptop open, gathering proof. She hacked into his social media using passwords. He'd once bragged about being too clever for anyone to guess. It turned out Jason wasn't clever at all. Within hours, she had screenshots of him messaging not just Sophie, but to other women. Emily's stomach turned. How many lies had he told? How many hearts had he broken? She printed the conversations, saving them in a folder she tucked into her desk drawer. Her plan grew bolder each day. She began asking Jason questions casually, making him reveal details about his schedule, his business contacts, and his important friends. Jason bragged easily, never realizing Emily was memorizing every word. One night she called Lena. "I have enough now," Emily said calmly. "Enough for what?" Lena asked, worried. "Enough to take everything he values: his reputation, his fake image, even his pride. He's not just going to lose me, Lena. He's going to lose everything." Lena hesitated. "Emily, just be careful. This is dangerous." Emily's lips curved into a cold smile. "Don't worry. I'm not the one in danger anymore." Meanwhile, Jason was completely oblivious. He strutted into the cafe with Sophie one afternoon, not even noticing Emily sitting quietly in the corner. He told Sophie lies about his busy schedule, about how his girlfriend was too needy. Emily watched from a distance, her face expressionless. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She simply wrote down every detail. Jason thought he was untouchable. But Emily was about to show him that the sweetest revenge comes from silence. Until the perfect moment to strike, Emily's plan was ready. The evidence was gathered, her mask of innocence firmly in place. Now it was time to let Jason taste the first bite of betrayal, not from her, but from the world he had lied to. The opportunity came faster than she expected. Jason often bragged about his company dinners. the ones where he mingled with business partners and potential investors. He loved to show Emily off as his beautiful, loyal girlfriend, the perfect accessory to his perfect image. So, when he invited her to a Friday night banquet, Emily smiled sweetly. Of course, Jason, I wouldn't miss it. But behind that smile, she was already planning her move. At the dinner, Jason introduced her to his colleagues, with his trademark charm. "This is Emily, the love of my life," he said, pulling her close. Emily's stomach turned, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she played her part flawlessly, smiling, laughing, complimenting Jason's stories. The room adored her. And then, Emily excused herself. She slipped away to the ladies' room, where she pulled out her phone. With a calm breath, she uploaded a set of screenshots to an anonymous email, private messages with Sophie and the other women. She sent them directly to two of Jason's biggest business partners, the ones he bragged about needing to impress. By the time she returned to the banquet table, the damage had already begun. She saw one of the partners glance at Jason's phone, then lean toward another man, whispering with raised brows. A cold smile tugged at Emily's lips. Jason, clueless, draped his arm around her. "Having fun, babe?" Emily looked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. "Of course. I love being by your side." But inside, she was savoring the beginning of his downfall. That night, as Jason dropped her home, he leaned in to kiss her. Emily let him, though her heart burned with disgust. He thought she was still his. He thought she still belonged to him. But the truth was, Emily no longer belonged to Jason. She belonged to her revenge. The storm didn't hit all at once. It began as whispers, little murmurs Jason couldn't quite catch. 2 days after the banquet, Jason strutted into the cafe to meet Emily, but something was different. His phone kept buzzing with notifications, and each time he checked, his jaw tightened. Emily sipped her coffee, pretending not to notice. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. Jason forced a smile, though sweat gleamed at his temple. "Yeah. Just work drama. Nothing to worry about." But she knew better. His empire, the perfect image he built, was beginning to crumble. By midweek, Jason's behavior had shifted. He became restless, snapping at waiters, pacing during phone calls. Emily overheard snippets, words like misunderstanding, false accusations, and "I can explain." The lies were unraveling. Meanwhile, Sophie's texts had changed too. Emily had seen them on Jason's phone when he left it unattended. "Why didn't you tell me about the other women? I don't trust you anymore, Jason. Don't ever call me again." Emily almost laughed. Sophie thought she was the only one, poor girl. One evening, Jason arrived at Emily's apartment looking shaken. He slumped onto her couch, burying his face in his hands. Everything's falling apart. My partners are pulling out of deals. Sophie's acting crazy, and Emily gently placed a hand on his shoulder, hiding her smirk. "You're strong, Jason. You'll figure it out. I believe in you." He looked up, eyes filled with desperation. "You're the only one I can count on, Emily." The irony almost made her laugh. "If only you knew," she thought. But instead, she kissed his forehead, whispering, "Always." Jason clung to her like a drowning man to driftwood, never realizing she was the one pushing him further into the sea. That night, after he left, Emily opened her laptop again. It was time to deliver the next blow. She drafted a message to Sophie using a fake account. "If you think Jason only lied to you, think again. Ask him about Emily Carter. Ask him who she really is to him." Emily hit send, leaning back in her chair. The cracks in Jason's kingdom were widening, and soon, the whole castle would collapse. It happened on a Thursday night. Jason had invited Emily to a rooftop lounge, one of his favorite places to show off his wealth and charm. The city skyline glittered behind him, and he ordered champagne like nothing in his life was wrong. But Emily noticed the tension in his jaw, the way he checked his phone every 2 minutes, the restless tapping of his fingers on the table. Suddenly, a voice cut through the hum of the crowd. "Jason." Both he and Emily turned. Sophie stood there, her face pale but determined, her eyes burning with betrayal. In her hand, she clutched a phone. screen glowing with the very screenshots Emily had anonymously sent. You lied to me. Sophie's voice cracked, but it carried across the rooftop. Heads turned. Conversations paused. All this time, you told me I was the only one. And then I find out about Emily and the others. How many more, Jason? Jason shot up from his chair, panic flashing in his eyes. Sophie, calm down. This isn't the place. Don't you dare tell me to calm down. Sophie shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. You used me. You used all of us. Emily sat quietly, sipping her champagne, her expression unreadable. Inside, her heart pounded with satisfaction. The show had begun. People around them were whispering, pulling out their phones, recording the scene. Jason's carefully crafted image of control and charm was unraveling in front of strangers' eyes. He turned to Emily, desperate. You know me. You know none of this is true, right? Tell her. Tell everyone she's lying. Emily tilted her head, her hazel eyes wide with innocence. I don't know what to say, Jason. I thought I was the only one too. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jason's face drained of color. No, Emily. You don't understand. You're different. I love you. His voice cracked, desperation dripping from every word. Sophie laughed bitterly. Love? You don't even know what love is. The crowd murmured louder, phones capturing every second. Jason's reputation wasn't just cracking anymore, it was shattering in real time. Emily placed her glass down gently, her lips curving into the faintest of smiles. This isn't the place to explain, Jason. Not anymore. She stood, brushed past him, and walked toward the exit, her heels clicking against the rooftop floor. Each step was heavy with power. Behind her, Jason called her name, but she didn't look back. For the first time, Jason wasn't in control, and Emily knew the final blow was near. The rooftop confrontation had gone viral. Within 24 hours, the videos were everywhere: social media feeds, gossip blogs, even business forums. Jason Miller exposed as a serial liar. Businessman's love scandal caught on camera. Jason's face was plastered across headlines. His confident smirk now a symbol of betrayal. His business partners began pulling out one by one, not wanting their names tied to the scandal. Investors ghosted him. Clients canceled meetings. And through it all, Emily stayed silent. Jason called her dozens of times. Please, you know I love you. I made mistakes, but you're different. They're lying. Sophie is lying. Don't leave me. I need you. You're all I have left. Emily never answered. She let the silence torture him more than any words could. But silence wasn't enough. She had saved the cruelest strike for last. A week later, Jason hosted a desperate press event to clear his name. He stood at a podium, sweat gleaming on his forehead, stammering through rehearsed lines about misunderstandings and false accusations. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. And then, their phones buzzed, all at once. A new video had leaked. It was Jason drunk at a bar, bragging to friends about how he juggled women. His voice slurred but clear. Girls are easy. They believe whatever I tell them. Emily, Sophie, they're all the same. I get what I want, then move on. That's how it works. Gasps filled the press room. Reporters immediately raised their hands, shouting questions. Jason, is this your voice on the recording? Are these the women you deceived? Jason froze, his face pale, his mouth opening and closing like a man drowning. In the very back of the room, unnoticed, Emily sat quietly with Lena by her side. She watched as the man who once made her cry, the man who thought he could use her and walk away, crumbled under the weight of his own lies. Jason's empire was gone, his reputation destroyed, his partners, his women, his so-called friends, everyone abandoned him. That night, Emily walked out of the press building into the cool night air. Lena squeezed her hand. You did it, Em. He's finished. Emily looked up at the stars, her chest rising with a deep breath. For the first time in months, she felt light, free. He betrayed me in love, she whispered, her voice steady. And now, he regrets it. Her lips curved into the faintest, most satisfied smile, and she never looked back.